Namaste, good evening. This is Dr. Aparna. I am an Ayurvedic neuropsychotherapist, a passionate Ayurveda, neuroscience, Bhagavad Gita, and psychotherapy infopreneur, medical writer. So, today's topic of discussion is neuroplasticity. So, what is neuroplasticity and what is the importance and why am I discussing neuroplasticity? So, neuroplasticity, as you can see, in simple terms, neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt. So, neuroplasticity is the brain's remarkable ability to change and adapt throughout life. So, it's like a living organism that can grow, that can reorganize, that can learn new things based on experiences. So, this phenomenon, the neuroplasticity, is crucial for our development, learning, memory, and recovery from injuries. So, here neuroplasticity in itself has two words. One is neuro, second is plasticity. So, let's understand what is plasticity. So, plasticity refers to the brain's malleability or ability to change. So, the plasticity does not imply that brain is plastic. No, not at all. It is the brain's ability to change, to adjust, to adapt. So, neuro here refers to neurons. That means the nerve cells that are the building blocks of the brain and nervous system. So, neuroplasticity allows nerve cells to change or adjust. So, neuroplasticity is also known as neural plasticity or brain plasticity. So, the ability of neural networks in the brain to change through growth and reorganization. So, as I said, neuroplasticity refers to an ability of the brain to change, to adapt, and to modify in respect to experiences in life. So, the neuroplasticity is an ongoing process. So, plasticity is ongoing throughout life. So, and this involves brain cells. So, other than neurons as well. So, including the glial and vascular cells. If you know the anatomy of brain has different cells. So, there includes glial cells, vascular cells, neurons, so nerve cells. So it can occur as a result. So plasticity can occur as a result of learning, experience, memory formation, or neuroplasticity sometimes can also occur due to result of some damage to brain, either stroke or something, or you have a brain injury. Plasticity could be a result of that as well. So now, every time a person experiences something new, or learns something new, so they are adjusting and forming new neural connections and harnessing the power of neuroplasticity. So, for example, easiest example is if you are learning a new language. This is also there also requires new neural connections. So there is a neuroplasticity. So, here, if we have to delve deep into this, neuroplasticity is the potential of the human brain to restructure throughout its lifetime by creating novel neural networks. So neurons are the functional unit of the brain. If you have we have studied you most of us might have studied in our classes, in our high schools, that neurons are the functional unit of the brain. So what they do is neurons carry out the reactions in the form of chemical impulses between the brain and other organs of the body. So neurons help carry messages from one part of the body to another by these chemical impulses. So, here, if we have to talk about the main types of neuroplasticity, First is functional plasticity, second is structural plasticity. So, functional plasticity is the brain's ability to move functions from a damaged area of the brain to other undamaged areas. So, as I said, if there is an injury to the brain, if there is stroke, you might have heard of paralysis. So if there is something like that, so the brain's ability to move the functions from a damaged area of a brain to other undamaged areas, so that is functional plasticity here. So what is structural plasticity? So structural plasticity is the brain's ability to actually change its physical structure as a result of learning. So if you're learning, it could be language, it could be algorithms, it could be coding language, whatever it is. When you're learning something new, there could be a structural plasticity. So the brain can actually change its physical structure. The brain means brain cells. So because of the learning. So how does the neuroplasticity actually work? So here the connection between the neurons, that means the nerve cells in the brain, can strengthen or weaken depending on how frequently they are used. So if a particular connection, the nerve cells, is frequently activated, it becomes stronger, so making it easier for the brain cell to recall information or perform a task. So the next thing is, this is called synaptic plasticity. So when a particular nerve cell or a neuron is frequently activated or frequently used, it becomes stronger. If it is unused, it becomes weaker. So what happens when it is stronger? It is easy for the brain to recall information or perform a task. So that means we have to keep using our brains. So, next is neurogenesis. So, this is one way neuroplasticity works, how the brain can generate new neurons. So, and particularly in the regions like the hippocampus, which is involved in memory formation. So, where all new neurons will be formed, wherever the memory formation is required, for example, in the hippocampus. So, this process can help compensate the brain, for brain damage and enhance cognitive function. Where it is, neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, where does it work? So it can work where, it has to the brain has to compensate for a damage, or whether if there is a cognitive dysfunction, to enhance the cognitive function also neurogenesis might happen. The next thing is reorganization. So the brain can reorganize itself to compensate for the injuries or changes in functions. For example, if a part of a brain is damaged, other areas may take over its function. So it is not that one part of the brain is damaged, so the brain will not perform the function. So the what happens is the other areas take over the function of the damaged area. So, some examples of neuroplasticity. So, learning a new skill. As I said, when you learn a new skill, such as playing an instrument or learning a language, your brain forms a new neural connection, and maybe one connection or more than multiple connections, and strengthens the existing ones. Next example is recovery from an injury. So, after a stroke or brain injury, the brain can sometimes reorganize itself to compensate for the damaged areas. For example, if a part of the brain responsible for language is damaged, other areas may take over the language functions. So the next thing is memory formation. Every time you learn something new, your brain forms, new neural connections to store the information. So that there also neuroplasticity can happen. Next is adaptations to sensory changes. So, for example, if you lose a sense, so a sense of, such as sight or hearing, your brain can adapt by enhancing other senses. You might have heard, for example, people who are blind often develop, heightened hearing or touch. Their touch and hearing is extra sensitive, and it is very enhanced than other people, because of this. So if a person loses a sense of sight or hearing, your brain, what it does, it adapts by enhancing other senses. So there are a few factors which are responsible for affecting neuroplasticity. So age is a typical factor. So younger brains are more generally more plastic. Plastic means neuroplasticity, so adaptability. So that thing, plastic, don't consider plastic as a word. Younger brains are generally more plastic than older brains. That means plasticity can still occur at any age, but younger brains are more neuroplastic, more than the older brains. Next is the environment. So, enriching environments such as those with intellectual stimulation and physical activity can also promote neuroplasticity. Intellectual stimulation can be reading, writing, skill development, and physical activity can also promote neuroplasticity. Next is the lifestyle. So, factors such as diet, exercise, stress management can also influence brain health and neuroplasticity. Next is the genetics. So genetic factors also play an individual role. There could be genetic differences in neuroplasticity. So some people are genetically much well prone to neuroplasticity than other individuals. So, in conclusion, if I have to say, neuroplasticity is a fundamental property of the brain that allows us to learn, to grow, to adapt throughout our lives. So, by understanding neuroplasticity, we can develop strategies to enhance brain health and function, so including the cognitive function as well, and potentially treat what it does is, when we understand neuroplasticity, many of the neurological disorders and mental health disorders can also be treated. So that's why neuroplasticity is very important. So in the next session, we'll talk more about neuroplasticity, types of neuroplasticity, examples of it, applications of it. We'll talk in the next session. So thanks for watching. If you have any queries or questions, or any you have any suggestions for me, so please leave it in the comment section. Thank you. Namaste.